Hello. It's Rob here, announcing Series 3 of Just Ride alongside my best, Elliot Jackson. How are you?
I didn't get a friend, but I'll take it anyway. Man, it's so good to be back.
Just my best.
I don't know. I was thinking where's that gonna go? Is it gonna go to like friend or commentator or co-host?
Yeah, now I thought about it, I didn't have a second word in reserve. Well, so you're just the best. You're just the best.
Yeah, I'll keep working
toward it. Go with that. And we are, of course, very excited now to get into Series 3. I mean, we've loved the first two series. More amazing guests, more amazing cycling chat, and maybe none more in depth than the pod we're opening with today. Our guest today he knows a lot more than we do about the road.
Yeah, he does. And I think that's something that we're going to try to do a little bit more of this season is kind of go to events, kind of get into a couple of different things. And so the Giro is coming up next. And we've got Patrick Broe. He goes by Lanterne Rouge on YouTube, also one of the biggest road cycling podcasts. And as I was doing research, the thing that kept popping into my mind was really that he's just got so good at analyzing road cycling. Like he didn't come from a pro road cycling background.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah, and he watched so much like footage of road cycling.
Hours and hours. Yeah, up all night.
That one of the best teams in the world hired him as head of strategy.
Wow.
That's like every fan's dream.
That is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no fans become head of strategy in their favourite team.
So, he's going to give us a bit of a preview. We're going to go into the Giro. We're going to go into what road cycling tactics and strategy are all about. And I can't wait to get into it.
Should we improve our road knowledge?
I would love that.
Let's go. We're joined today by one of the brightest brains in road cycling and a huge podcaster. We're hoping he can teach me and Elliot a thing or two about Grand Tours and perhaps about podcasting. His show, The Lanterne Rouge, is one of the most listened to road podcasts in the world, and he is also head of strategy for one of the biggest teams in the world, Visma-Lease-a-Bike. Welcome to Just Ride, Patrick Broe. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been good to... I also want to learn some stuff from you because, likewise, I watch mountain biking as a casual fan or downhill, and I don't know what's going on. So hopefully we can cross-pollinate some knowledge between ourselves.
Yeah, I love it.
This is sounding good.
Well-rounded cycling experts.
Exactly.
I feel like that would be a good place to start. I mean, you have such an interesting background. A lot of the time when you have somebody coming into sport, they've been an athlete or they've been a pro or something like that. But that wasn't your experience. Can you kind of talk us through how you got to where you are now?
So all my life I've been a sports fanatic, but in Australia, obviously, you can tell from my accent, but not into cycling. Like also a lot of the Australian pros. It's not like in Italy or Spain or Belgium where I think you get born and get given a road bike. So I was into cricket, rugby, football, everything. But American sports, just a real like sports fanatic. Always wanted to work in sports, but the reality was that you can't go to university and do sports, I guess. Well, not at the time I was there. So I studied to be a lawyer and just became a normal commercial or corporate lawyer in Australia. But on the side, I was still watching sports all the time. And then like in the UK, how when Bradley Wiggins won the Tour de France and Team Sky came in, road cycling exploded in the UK. Maybe not on the same scale in Australia when Cadel won the Tour, a year before I might add. Cadel Evans winning the Tour de France. Like a lot of fans got me into road cycling. And then I became a Tour de France casual, to a Giro Tour de France, to eventually watching every Belgian classic in the middle of the night.
So what was it about road cycling that was so interesting for you?
I think because when you first watch road cycling, you're like, there's nothing happening. You really, when you look at it and there's just 60 people rolling along and you're like, there's nothing happening. There's no incremental scoring like in basketball or football, and there's one winner. And then as I realized more and more how tactics and team dynamics and the different routes. And if there's a hill here, but it's 10Ks from the finish, but if it was actually 5Ks from the finish, then this guy could win. But because it's that far, then that guy can't win. That's, as I progressively learned more and more about the sport, I got really, really interested into what decisions are teams making, what riders are they picking, how are they using the riders, and how are they choosing to race in the races, right? And it's not just a time trial every day. Like in road cycling, tactics and strategies and those sort of things matter a lot. And that was interesting to me.
Is that something you realised from yourself, sat like at home as a fan, or was that something that you kind of started to talk to the teams about, and they said, well, no, watch out for this dude today, like you say, 5-10K, a hill at the end? I wouldn't have thought that would have made much difference. But did you have inside knowledge to work that out, or is it just something you did sat on your couch?
I was just scrolling through, through Twitter. What are hardcore fans who've grown up with the sport, what are they saying? What are the commentators saying? Matt Keenan and Robbie McEwen. And then going into forums, what are some of the cycling forums saying, and just becoming progressively more of a hardcore fan. But no, I never spoke to a team really until they asked me to work for them.
And so that, I think, is I was kind of laughing about it. It's almost like every sports fan's dream to become so knowledgeable. So you start your YouTube channel, what is it, 8 or 9 years ago, and you're doing these analysis pieces. What was it like to start getting traction on them? What were you analyzing? And I guess it's like a kind of you can kind of see the background coming into play, like the law background. I heard you, the econometrics, the data analysis and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was also how I learned, by chopping up video footage, as if I was a video analyst for a football team, but I was doing it for YouTube. Yeah, how did this classic play out in really bad weather 5 years ago, for example? And then obviously I tried to make it entertaining, because that's how social media and YouTube works. It has to also be entertaining to people for them to watch it, not just maybe informative. But I learned a lot from the comments and just from doing. So sometimes people will be say, oh, no, you're wrong about that, or whatever. And so, that process also taught me a lot, just watching old races all the time to find something exciting. So that process just actually taught me a lot, just doing and making the videos.
And so there's kind of two key moments to me. One was you being able to get the rights to actually analyze this footage. And the second one is, at that time, Jumbo Visma, reaching out to you to actually do some consulting for the team. Yeah, tell me about that. You actually got the rights to analyze this footage on YouTube.
So I realized that, hey, if these 10-year-old races I'm covering on YouTube are getting good hundreds of thousands of views, then surely if I cover the current Tour de France on a day-to-day basis, that's going to get even more views, because it's topical. And so I contacted ASO to try and negotiate the rights to license that footage, because you need to pay for them. And so I did that, which it took a long time. I think it hadn't really been done before in cycling, and I was just again copying other sports. In the NBA, they had done similar deals, because their whole plan in the mid 2010s in the NBA was just flood social media and digital media. So just get clips out there, just have it out there. Cycling, a little bit the opposite. And then, ASO also were quite forward-thinking in it. They were like, okay, yeah. Well, I think it was more see how it goes for a year, and then it worked for both. And then both of us were happy, and it's continued since then.
And I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? It's hard to argue with it, because it's just creating interest and knowledge for fans to watch the races and enjoy them better. You're, I would say, incredibly unique. Me and Elliot are sat here as podcasters. We both were professional athletes in downhill. We come through that. We know it. It's ingrained in us. You didn't come through as a professional cyclist. It's quite mad that you've gone from being a lawyer, not a sportsman, into being the analyst, the tactician for one of the biggest road teams on the planet. Has anyone else done that? Usually, I would have said that had to be a job for an ex-athlete, really.
In American sports, it's pretty common, I would say. Becoming more and more common, maybe not 10 years ago. So now you do see more people in senior positions in NFL teams, baseball teams, basketball teams that haven't played in the sport themselves. Maybe they played at a really minor level, and which still is different. But you're right. It's in football, still in the UK, I'll see a player retire like Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
And they've suddenly got a job even as the head coach of a championship team. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What would he know about? I mean, he would know a lot about generally how football works, but managing a group of individuals or putting a team together. Even Roy Keane. I like Roy Keane as a player, as a United fan, but as a coach, I don't think he's been so good.
Different role, right? It's a different thing.
It is different, yeah. And like Michael Jordan, best basketball player ever. Probably the worst general manager ever.
Is that right?
Well, maybe not the worst ever, but,
But he
not
wasn't
so
very
Not
good.
Not good either.
No, that's right, yeah.
So did you face some backlash then? Like, what was that? What did the community think about it?
I think that happened more at the start, like I said, when I was making YouTube videos, and I was saying a lot of things that weren't correct or that insightful. And the YouTube comments is a very democratic place. And,
That's one way of putting it.
people will let you know, which is good. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was more then. And within the professional teams or within Visma that I work for, no.
So tell me about an analyst. Like, I want to, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, like when you first watch road cycling, you just looks like you see a bunch of guys or girls riding, and it looks, they're just bunched up and they just ride for a couple hours. And so from the analyst point of view, tell me why that's not the case.
First of all, drafting. So drafting is the biggest component of cycling that dictates what is happening, apart from whether there's hills or not, or wind. So if you're on a flat course without wind, riders going at 50 k's an hour, the rider pushing on the front might be pushing to go 55 k's an hour, 425 watts, and the guy in the middle of the bubble could be going 150 watts, which
Really?
if you watch some of the Middle Eastern races, like in UAE Tour, for example, if there's a headwind, guys will literally be detraining at that race on the sprint stages, because if they're in the middle of the bunch, they're going so slowly that they're detraining. They're going slower than they would in training on the flat.
Really?
Because the draft benefit's so big. Yes.
What?
I want to dig into that a little bit more. So it's like even within just like drafting, like there's like different formations and like there's movement going around. Like what's going on in like the peloton beyond, like, are people fighting for different drafts and stuff like that? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so if there's a crosswind, for example, then everyone's going to ride in a different formation to get protection from the wind coming from the side, which you also see in the Middle East or Northern France. You might see it in the Tour de France this year in Northern France. Or if there's a headwind, strong headwind, for example, it's really, really difficult to break away from the pack because you get more benefit drafting on the wheel. Maybe you want to be drafting a bigger guy because you get a bigger draft benefit. I don't know if you know Remco Evenepoel.
Yes. Yeah.
So there was a recent race with Remco Evenepoel and Wout van Aert. One's 6'4", one's my height. And Remco, basically, they were in a 2-up, just rolling turns. And you could see Van Aert getting progressively more and more tired because he was getting no draft off Remco.
Right.
And then when Remco went to draft 6'4" Van Aert, he's in a beautiful, beautiful draft pocket. And things like that make a big difference. So that's why in the Giro, you'll see in the last 10Ks, the big units on the front and their tiny little GC riders sitting behind them.
And so is this kind of what you do as a job, is to kind of say, hey, these are the riders that you might look at. These are where these riders might be positioned based on their previous races. What is that role? Like, how do you plan out a race beforehand?
Going back even to the off season, so I work closely with Christian Niemann, who's the head of racing, and we plan out what's the best calendar for each rider. Is this rider who's maybe 65 kilos, you think they're a GC rider, but actually everything about their race performance, their power profile is actually something different, and they should be a one-day classics rider. and they actually, over 3 weeks of a Grand Tour, they don't have the capacity to be consistent across 3 weeks, but on a one-day race that's kind of hilly, they can be really, really good. So planning out the calendar, and then, yes, for each race, okay, what are the riders we have? And this is very pie in the sky, because as a word to everyone listening, the UCI World Tour calendar is not, it's not like you're putting your Champions League team out every weekend. There's so many races, there's injuries, there's sickness, and a lot of the time you're trying to cobble together what is a decent team we can send to get a result at this race we have to attend, because you have to attend every World Tour race. And then, yes, what order in the climbing, on a climb, say, we want to launch Jonas Vingegaard, what order should all the riders pull in, and how long should they pull?
Do you go into detail of how long, before you even see the riders on that hillside, on that mountainside, you have a rough idea of how long each rider would pull? I suppose you can then communicate if they're looking poorly or not looking good and get them out. But, like, is it that calculated, is it?
Not like to the minute or anything like that. That's not realistic. People used to think Team Sky would do it like it's not like that, because these are human beings, and maybe what they had for breakfast that morning or how they slept, maybe they slept for 6 hours, not 8 hours. And so you might have written in a plan, they need to pull for 6 minutes, but you don't know if they had a bad night's sleep, or if the shower in the Italian hotel they were in didn't have hot water, so the riders, they're not robots. But generally speaking, you'll be like, this guy pulled for a long time, you pull for a medium time, you pull really, really hard for like 2 minutes and launch him.
That's super interesting, because I feel like from the outside, that is, at least, from us as downhill mountain bikers, that's exactly what we think of road riders as, is just like robots, where it's like, okay, like I'm going to rest on the couch for, a minute and a half or, 2 hours, and then I'm going to ride exactly at these watts and train exactly at these watts. And I mean, even just kind of, there's that almost like a meme, like the just the marginal gains. Kind of everyone knows that story now. It's like the washing the hands and stuff like that. Is it not really like that, or?
Oh, in training, yeah, kind of is. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like if you want to perform, the riders, they're given prescribed training with set watts targets. They do it within those zones, and then they recover. Then they eat during the season. Let's say they're preparing before a big race. Yeah, then they'll eat a pretty strict diet. Yeah, so that is true.
But it's not like you kind of have to be pliable, like during the races, because like you'll have a plan, and then do you have like a backup? Like if somebody is supposed to go for a win and they're not feeling it, like I know just this past in Paris-Roubaix, Patrick Broe like wasn't feeling good, and she wasn't thinking about going for the win, but then she ended up, like, what is that kind of situation like within the team?
Well, that's a good example, yeah, because Pauline, she didn't even know if she'd start Paris-Roubaix. And so the idea was, well, Voss has got a quicker sprint. So if Voss sits in and just saves energy all day, she can still win, or at least run third. And without Pauline, she would have been third. And she's in good shape. And then Pauline can sort of take a few more risks, and also she doesn't have the best sprint, so it makes sense for her to go on the attack. Now, going on the attack like that, there's a risk. You get caught, you're cooked, you get spat out the back, and your race is over. But also by her attacking, if you also watch the end of that women's race of Paris-Roubaix, Voss can just sit on everybody's wheel and be really negative, and just anytime someone else jumps, she sits on their wheel. And like I said with the draft, no one wants to ride 20 k's to the finish with Marianne Voss sitting in your wheel doing 50% less work. And so, yeah, with those two, it's actually very easy. With one very strong over a long period of time, technically good, Pauline from the mountain bike, and then one with a good sprint, the tactic's actually pretty straightforward.
Now that we're on these multi-discipline athletes, like Pauline going to the road from mountain biking, or going back to the road, I guess. And I guess for us, it's been really interesting to see, like a Matthew Van Der Poel or Tom Pidcock. Yeah. What has that been like? Like, how do you view these multidiscipline athletes?
I think it's a positive, actually, because they maybe have more margin, even though they are doing cycling, they're not doing road cycling all year. So if they then transition more to road cycling, there's potentially more margin for improvement. Plus, their general bike handling is always better. So not necessarily in a bunch situation for mountain bikers, because they're not riding in a bunch all the time. But obviously your brains from downhill, you are seeing, you're riding on a mixed surface, trying to make decisions at whatever kilometers an hour like that, with a rock or a route you can't even see. Then when you go on the road, okay, you might be going 80, 85 downhill, but it's a road with like a turn. Like it's simple. It must be more simple. So,
well, waves that Tom Pidcock descends does
makes it look
prove it
simple.
right. Yeah, that's right.
And Peter Sagan came from mountain bike, and Fulsang, and they're good bike handlers.
And Cadell.
And Cadell.
Don't forget Cadell.
Do you feel like the sport's changed? Like, is there more attacking? Do you kind of need something more, I guess, now than you did before?
It's just another quiver in your bow. So with Pauline, she's a better descender than 95% of the women's peloton. And that's just another way she can try and influence the outcome of a race, not just uphill. That if there's a descent and it's technical, she'll take not even risks for her.
No.
She can just go faster than the others, or if she needs to create a gap, she could do that. So it's definitely an advantage. The only downside, what I've noticed is the mountain bike riders are less explosive than I thought.
Well, that is interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't mean like Samuel Gaze. He's super explosive.
Yeah.
I mean like the XCO 1 hour events. And I think it's because it's literally a 1 hour TT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
What do you think about Van der Poel and Pogacar?
Well, Pogacar's the best rider in the world at the moment. So he can descend, he can go uphill, he can run the flat, he can do whatever. And that's what you said, that they're not just robots. Pogacar also is probably the smartest rider at the moment. He knows exactly who the next best rider is in the peloton in every race he's doing. If that rider's not in good position, he'll attack him, even if it's 100 k's from the finish. He did it to Remco yesterday. And then Van der Poel, I think it's very unfortunate for him that Pogacar exists. Because,
would you say that Pogacar is the greatest of all time already, or can he be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he rides in a different era. He rides in the professional era, so yeah, it's hard to compare eras, because there's guys obviously with 300 wins, but like Eddie Merckx or whatever. But in the professional era, for sure, he's the best ever. Yeah.
And you correct me if I'm wrong, but like that people didn't think that you could be like a one-day rider and also a Grand Tour rider.
Well, yeah, like you had Contador and Froome, just traditional stage race riders. I mean, Armstrong was actually a good one-day rider. He just never did them once he was in the Tour de France trajectory.
Before he did, though, didn't he? He was world champion, wasn't he? One day.
He won Trofeo Laguelia, maybe San Sebastian. He was, a really good one-day rider, and then he got into the mode of, I'm not sure the US market's so interested in me winning this Belgian race on a Sunday in March, but they do care about July in the Tour, so he got into that mode. So maybe they always could do it, and just commercially or whatever, the motivation wasn't there to do it, whereas Pogacar, it seems he actually prefers the one-day races.
Really? Is that how it seems? Huh.
Yeah, he had to fight his team to do Paris-Roubaix.
No way. And then he goes out and wins it. No, he didn't win it this year, did he? Second, near the end.
Second, but he was
he would have been close. Yeah, that's
He's
right.
pretty good.
What makes him so good? Like, what does he do that nobody else can?
He has the highest threshold of all the riders.
What do you mean by threshold? Pain threshold or numbers like?
Just what he can push for
his
1
power.
hour.
What is it? What's that number? When he's at his best?
Maybe 430, 440.
He can sustain that for an hour, can he?
In theory.
That is outrageous.
Well, I don't know much about it, but I rode up Mont Ventoux the other day, and for the first 2 hours before I turned back and nearly collapsed, my max power output went from, this is the first time I've ever used a power meter, from 220 on that flattest 6k in, and by the time I got to Chalet Reynard. I was down to 180. Like, that was my power output, and I was done. I turned around and went back. I collapsed.
With a power meter, just push 400 just to feel what it feels like, even on your knees and your ankles. And
I'm going to do it.
It feels hard.
I don't think I got near that.
No, downhill guys, I bet you both of you could.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some power for,
Not for an hour.
Not for an hour. Not for an hour. Give me 10
but it's
seconds.
Completely the opposite sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah.
So before we get to the Giro, because I really want to dive into that, can you talk to me about the teams? Like, Visma-Lease-a-Bike, like what's kind of the makeup of you guys' team, and who are some of the teams that are the most interesting this year?
So Visma is the big classics leaders, Wout van Aert, who's like the CX rival growing up of Van der Poel. Mm-hmm. He's a classics rider, and then we have the two-time Tour de France winner, Jonas Vingegaard. So he's coming back for this July. He had a bad crash last year, and then Poggy beat him in the Tour last year. So I think it's 2-2 between them in the Tour. And it's the tiebreaker this year. And then we've got Sepp Kuss, who won the Vuelta, the American. I think he was a mountain bike rider too. And as well as Olav Koy's a sprinter. And we've got a couple of exciting young guys. Matthew Brennan is one to watch. So Matthew Brennan was in Roubaix. He's 19, and he's a big talent. And in the women, we got Pauline, who's obviously a big star, and the GOAT, Marianne Vos, as the two leaders.
Do you think that, like, when you mentioned the young guys too, like, do you think the sport's getting younger?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's from power meters. Because before, if you went to and just the performance coaches and the analysts in the team understanding, like, working in teams now, because before, when you were 23, and joined a team as a neo-pro, how do you know how good that guy is without a power meter? I mean, maybe can stopwatch him on tests in January, but then, the old logic would be, he needs to work. Like, when he's 27, he needs to learn his craft.
Yeah.
But now, it's like football. Actually, their probably riders' physical prime is like 23 to 27, and then 27 to 30, it might start declining, but because they have more experience, it levels out.
Is that right?
It depends on the rider as well. So, like, as you get older, you lose explosivity, but in terms of endurance, it might stay the same or even improve with more volume. That's why the Ironman triathletes, they can be a lot older. How
do you feel like you guys' chances are for the Giro this year?
The Giro got Simon Yates. I think he's on top of a mountain somewhere at the moment. So I hope he's going well. But also, Wout van Aert's going there with Olav Koy for stage wins. So the idea is to just go for every stage, I think, and try to be spicing up the race every day. So that's the idea.
So we're recording this right before. Give us a little bit of an overview of the Giro. Like, what's kind of the theme compared to some of the other Grand Tours, and just like give us an outline of the race.
So it starts in Albania. So I'm going to Albania in a week for the first 3 stages. There's a couple of long time trials. Yeah, there's a couple of hard sprint stages there, and then it's actually a very non-typical Giro route this year. Not many long mountaintop finishes, some shorter climbs. They don't go to high altitude. So I think it'll be actually quite a tactical race until they do the Colle del Finestra. So that's the climb that Chris Froome won the Giro on basically in 2018 when he dropped Tom Dumoulin at the start of the stage. And it's like 20 Ks, 9% gravel for the last half of it. It's crazy climb. So that's like the big showstopper at the end of the race where we'll see who's going to win.
So this year, Pogacar's out. He's going to focus on the Tour. Jonas Vingegaard's out as well. And Remco Evenepoel. It feels like a lot of people are like focusing on the Tour this year. Is like the Tour just the only thing that matters now? Like, why would teams make that decision?
Yeah, the Tour is the biggest show commercially for the teams. I mean, I think 10 years ago there was a report that maybe 80% of the sponsor money for the teams is in respect of the exposure they want at the Tour. So then it makes sense to have your riders prepare for the Tour, your best riders prepare for the Tour. But, in Pogacar's defense, he did the Giro last year, but it's really difficult for him to combine. He just finished his Classics program yesterday, winning in Liège. The Tour's in a week and a half or 10 days. He can't then do Classics, Giro, Tour. It's impossible.
Right.
Or maybe not for him, but it's really difficult.
So leading up to the Giro, how do you plan? Like, take me through what a strategy would look like for a Grand Tour.
I mean, traditionally, I think most teams do it like this. You have your leaders. So if it's a flat sprint stage, it's pretty obvious. We have Olav Koy. He's on paper the best sprinter in the race. And so we say we're going to construct a lead out for this stage for Olav to win the stage. And then maybe on a hillier sprint stage, then we discuss should Wout go in because Wout van Aert's like a sprinter, but also got a big engine. So if there's a 10K, 6% climb, he can get over that, no problem. And then we say, should he go on the breakaway? Should we control the stage? Should he attack? Should he sprint? So we'll have that discussion with the coaches and him. And then for the GC days, it's a lot easier when you're not the favorite. So Roglic is the favorite for the Giro. And then when you're the favorite, you and your team kind of dictate how the climbing stages go. Because, you're the favorite. Everyone's looking to you.
So how does that, how do you dictate it? Like, are you just kind of trying to get your team to the front and then you can slow down or speed up? Or is just everyone kind of saying, I'm just going to wait for kind of these guys until they make a move?
Yeah, so for a lot of the stages, it would be, for RGC leader, just, follow Bora, and especially for the first week, see what they're doing. Because you also don't know exactly, has an opponent been sick? And you don't really know that until, say, the first uphill finish, and then there's no hiding anymore. And then you can see, okay, he's in bad shape, he's flying, that team looks terrible, they can't control the race. And then you can start to decide what to do more concretely. But for Bora, for example, they would be deciding, okay, what's a good stage where we can try and take time with Roglic? What stage suits him?
Yeah.
How should we pace that stage with the team we have?
So, Red Bull did just get a road team, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe.
Yeah.
What's that been like from the road community's perspective?
It was really positive because it's not already Pidcock had the Red Bull helmet for a long time. Van Aert had the Red Bull helmet, and then it seemed like a natural next step for Red Bull to then own a team.
What did you think of the, as we're talking, like the Red Bull Kilometre just got announced. Can you explain kind of what that is to the audience and how you guys are approaching it?
Every road stage of the Giro, there's an intermediate sprint where you get bonus seconds. And so these bonus seconds are really important. Primož Roglic, who I just mentioned, he actually won a whole Vuelta a España just on bonus seconds.
Huh.
Because he's like really explosive and good time trial, and then he just followed the rest of the stages. And maybe that's Bora's strategy.
Right.
So when there's these intermediate sprints, now there's in the Giro, just got announced that there's the Red Bull Kilometre, which is the kilometre leading up to that intermediate sprint. And you'll see riders, if it's uphill, the sort of overall general classification guys like Roglic and Ayuso sprinting. If it's on the flat, sometimes the strategy is like, for Visma, Simon Yates, he's tiny. It's not realistic that on a flat sprint he's going to beat Roglic or Ayuso. So you can actually send a teammate who is a sprinter to sprint against those guys to take away the seconds from them to protect him.
Sure.
Huh.
Yeah. Because I mean, even your sprinter doesn't need them, but you're just trying to take it away from somebody like Roger. Yeah, that's super cool.
So are you in the car following? And
No, that's terrible.
Hey?
Why is it bad?
You never go in the cars. I thought you'd be in the car making split-second decisions. You need to go now. It's not like that.
No, it's much easier just to say, this is what I think you should do before the stage. And then...
Is that right? You don't go on the tour, on the stages. You don't go out on the stages.
No, because you can't see any... Well, you can now with better connection in the car, but I sit at home and I watch like every race, and then I communicate with depending on who's in the car and the race, yeah.
And is that the same for most teams then? Most tacticians don't go to the races. They sit back and then direct the team as, like you say, in the car to
No,
tell
but I'm still not directing the team from the couch. Like it's the guy in the car, is the DS in the car is doing it. I'm more, if I see something on TV, like a rider doing something strange or one of our riders doing something unexpected, and also the cars, often they have no connection. Because in the Tour de France, you're going up to the middle of nowhere in the Alps, like 2,000 meters, and then you have 50,000 people using their phone with 5G. You got no service. At least not enough to stream in HD.
Yeah.
So it's not perhaps as controlled as we might think then. Those riders make their own decisions when it comes... is that right? When it's in the heat of them stages, then it comes down to the riders a lot.
It's a big misconception that there's puppet masters moving.
Well, I assumed it was. You got communication to the riders, right? So
true. I mean, yeah, you can say, it might be a good idea in this climb coming up to try and do something, but ultimately the riders have to be physically able to do it. They have to be in position to do it. They have to want to do it.
So is your role more like picking the team from the squad that goes, the 11 that go out on a football match sort of thing, and then it comes over to the guys on the sideline that kind of take over once the game's in play, and you'll be like giving them little pushes here and there?
Yeah, that's maybe a better way of describing it. Like this is the best team to send to this race, and with this team, probably a plan that makes sense would look like this. But then, of course, during the race, things happen that you can't predict, and then it's up to the riders and it's up to the directors in the car to decide what to do.
Do you have a personal relationship with the riders, like those directors in those cars? And by that, I mean, someone's got to make a difficult decision that riders ain't going to like, I guess, sometimes. Like, right, you're not winning this stage. You need to help such and such. Drop back.
Yeah,
you're not so involved in that, I guess. But it must be incredible to have a rider like Wout van Aert, say, who... Whenever I see him, he just looks so selfless, and was it a couple of tours ago? He was just unbelievable, like giving up everything for all the other riders in the team. I'd never seen anything like it, really.
And yeah, it's a strange sport like that because and I always thought in the Olympics, it doesn't make sense to me that there's only one gold medal to the winner of the road race, because actually it's a team effort to do it. It really is, and that's another misconception of the sport maybe that, I mean, yes, with Pogacar, the team only has to be so good, but but his team also does a really, really good job and is really important for him too. And so it really is a team sport, and with that, but then it's an individual winner and individual accolades.
Yeah.
So that is an inherent conflict in it, and you can get lucky with riders like Wout, who, you don't have to, there is no hard conversation
ever.
Say, well, there can be more, but not in a race. If you say this mountain stage, we want to go for Jonas, he's not going to say, but I would like to go for the intermediate sprint and the KOM jersey. No, he'll be like, what's the plan? Let's go help Jonas win today.
Is that right? Because other riders might say, well, hang on, I could win this stage. Is that a thing, is it?
Yeah, and that's natural. It depends. I mean, I would also think that way if I was out of contract and I had a chance to win the stage myself, and the alternative is helping a guy come 8th in the general classification. Yeah, I probably would flick the radio out myself.
You see that?
Being honest.
And you see that happen, do you? Riders do that. Yeah, of course. They're humans.
I guess we have, even on the Red Bull team, we have Roglic and then also Jai Hindley. And Jai won the Giro.
He won the Giro.
And now he has to ride for Roglic.
And that was what I was surprised by. But then again, these conversations happen before the race. They don't happen and not even before the race. When Jai Hindley was doing his contract extension talks with Bora, or Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, he already knew there was Roglic on the team. So I presume they have those conversations about chances and opportunities up front. And he would know going to this Giro, maybe he's a shadow leader, which can also be pretty useful, that, Hindley can be underrated. But, when it comes down to it, Roglic looks like the big boss. even though Jai won the race before.
I would love to hear your thoughts on Pidcock. Like, how do you feel like his chances are? How can he race at the Giro?
I think he's going to go for stages.
Like, my intuition would be like he could go for stages, but then I'm also like, well, surely he could win the whole thing.
Yeah,
like, he's insane.
When's he going to win a GC? When's he going to win a Grand? This is what we want to know as Brit. I want to know as a Brit, because surely he is that talented though. But the sport is getting younger, as you say. He's already had a mountain bike career. He's already, how old is he now, Tom? 25?
25.
Yeah, 20. I mean, this needs to happen, right?
It's prime, baby.
He's prime now, but is he going to get that opportunity? It's so much more complicated than mountain biking, where you start on the start line and you ride your own race. Like, there's a lot more needs to be in place for him even to be able to go for a Grand Tour win, right?
Yeah, and I actually, now that I think about it, with him at the Giro, maybe he will go for GC. But like you say, it's not even. He went to a smaller team. But then he's already done 24 race days, and he's raced in Saudi Arabia in January where he won and was good. But maybe other guys have had a more traditional preparation because they don't have to do those races. And so maybe he's just, even though he looks like a GC rider, maybe he's not a GC rider and he's just a one-day race specialist.
Huh,
now,
right.
I don't think that, but
That's what the data is looking like.
yeah, he's never like the best climber in amongst the GC guys. Like, he's good, and in Tirreno he was good again. But no, he doesn't have on the road the ability on a 20-minute uphill finish to just like blow away Roglic, for example.
No.
Is that what you need to win? Is like those final kind of iconic, just people riding off the front like that?
Well, it depends. Again, if you're Roglic, no, because he'll win every sprint for bonus seconds and he'll win the 2 time trials. But if you're Pidcock, you have to take the time somewhere to come back on Roglic or Ayuso, who are better time trialists. And that's why it's different to mountain biking, because you even have different disciplines in a Grand Tour.
Right.
How well can you ride your TT bike for 45 minutes? Yeah, for Pidcock, actually, what I'm most interested to see is him on Finestra, on that long climb I mentioned. Half of it's gravel. He's going to be at home on that. He's really light. It's super steep. Like I said, his 1 hour threshold is incredible from that's how he wins the XCO races for 1 hour. He's just better than everyone. And technically, so I'm really interested to see him on that stage.
Can you make a couple predictions? Maybe like, who do you think's going to win the overall, and also maybe like the first time trial? First
TT, I think it's against Josh Tarling and Wout van Aert. I'm going to be biased and say I think Wout van Aert actually upsets the young Brit in the first TT. And then I think Roglic still wins GC, but has a characteristic wobble at some point where his elbows start to go out, his butt's wiggling, he's struggling to get the power out, but he still hangs on.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, yeah. Every Grand Tour, he has one, wobble.
well, almost it's like one of those, like, if he doesn't have one of those, like, maybe that's a bad sign.
Geraint Thomas dropped him, actually, 2 years ago in the Giro. It all looked fine for him. Jumbo-Visma were pacing for Roglic. He looked like he had it wrapped up, and then for some reason, Geraint Thomas attacked, and then Roglic was just staying where he was, and then his butt started wiggling, and I was like, oh no, he's losing time today.
So, Patrick, as we kind of wind down, I would love for you to, I don't know, just give us your thoughts on where the future of the sport's going. Are there any changes that you would want to see?
I would love to see, the biggest riders. Like you said, it would be better if at the Giro there was also Vingegaard, Pogacar, Van der Poel, these riders.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame there's only 3 Grand Tours, and the modern sport, the peaking does dictate that if you want to win the Tour, you might only be at that one. It's a shame, isn't it?
But I'm not a traditionalist, so I believe, and this is heresy to people, this is the thing I get the most hate for. I think the Grand Tours are too long. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and I'm I'm a cricket lover. They should be 15 stages, 2 weeks max.
They're inhumane, aren't they? When you actually
Like, why is it 3 weeks? I mean, we joke every year about there's going to be some sleepy stages, and as someone covering it every day on the podcast and watching every day, don't get me wrong, I love having some sleepy stages on a Wednesday afternoon. You see 80Ks to go. There's no breakaway, or the breakaway's at 30 seconds. It's two small guys, and the whole peloton's chasing them. I'm like, okay, I can book in a siesta for 1 hour here. But I'm not sure that's how professional sport should be, actually.
No, you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about like when World Cup mountain bike races, cross-country races were an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
They would nap in the middle for 2 laps out of the 8, you know, and then the races came down to 1:15, and as you said, now they sprint for an hour and a quarter, you know, that it's like a time trial. But yeah, it's changed, and it's better for it, probably.
Yeah.
I just we don't need these 2 laps where nothing happens, yeah.
So, my last question is just tell us about the podcast, Lanterne Rouge. Actually, tell us where that name comes from. And then are you going to be doing updates every day for the Giro?
So yeah, Lanterne Rouge is the last place finisher in the Tour de France. Used to be called the Lanterne Rouge. And so yeah, I just took it from that. It's kind of in a self-deprecating way. And yeah, every day we'll be doing daily recasts. We live stream them, so the stage finishes, and then on YouTube we immediately start live streaming, which can be a bit risky. Sometimes that adds to the pressure if you get things wrong.
Yeah.
And then we live stream a reaction or recap of every Giro stage, and then of course the Tour de France as well in July.
And looking forward to the Tour, which is the Grand Tour that I won't miss for anything. Are we likely to see it again be like Taddy up against Jonas? Because the spectacle of them two being leagues ahead of everyone coming out, you know, on those climbs, those two just looking back and sprinting, and then it's to me, there is no greater spectacle in sport. Like, it's unbelievable to see them going up their mountains like that. Are we in for some more?
Hopefully. I'm hoping for the mega battle between those two and also Remco Evenepoel. So hopefully, Remco just came back from a bad accident again. But I'm hoping for those three, if they can put on a show for the Tour de France in July, that'll be the spec. Because I agree, it's like a few mountain stages a year. These superhuman guys have come in good shape with the best preparation, the best level, and they go like toe to toe. And the pressure is so high. There's no second. There's no second go at it. It's
nowhere to hide. It's the most raw, real thing I've ever witnessed. Yeah, it's insane.
Patrick, thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to follow everything you're putting out for both of these Grand Tour events, and we'll see you soon.
No, thanks very much for having me on. And,
brilliant.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks very much, Patrick.
Appreciate it.
Just amazing to talk to someone, especially for us, with such incredible depth of knowledge about the road and all self-taught. I mean,
that's the thing.
Imagine sitting at home just sort of playing puppet master with some of the world's best riders.
I mean, it is. It's really kind of encouraging. Like, I mean, even for me, I sometimes get self-conscious, even doing the commentary and stuff like that. I haven't raced in a while.
Yeah.
And, we do our prep and stuff like that. But it really just goes to show that, like, knowledge and really like digging into what you love and putting in the time, it makes all the difference. Like, just so many things that he knows as well. It's just crazy.
He knows in his role in that job, he must know everything about every rider, their strengths, their weaknesses, who to play. It's like a game of chess. Really fascinating, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
And he come from a lawyer who stayed up all night watching these European races, these classics, these tours in Australia, like you said, to then make that his job and move to Andorra.
Totally. I'm definitely going to be watching his daily updates, listening to his daily updates on the Lanterne Rouge.
And he does them daily
podcast.
Through the Grand Tours.
Yeah, every day.
I'll be there too as well.
He had a really, really nice a preview for the Giro, so that was really good.
Good. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
I am going to check that out. Of course, we want your comments, your questions, anything you want to send us. You can do that at justride@redbull.com. We look forward to those questions. Anything for Elliot? A bit awkward?
You got to let him know to like and subscribe.
Like or subscribe. You're new
Both.
to you are no.
Really?
It's like yeah.
Oh, you're a YouTuber now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a vlogger.
Yeah, and it's like or subscribe.
I'm
so if you could like or subscribe our channel, that would pump us up.
I'm very surprised that you haven't done a call out to like and subscribe your own channel. You're going crazy with that stuff.
Such a pro. I would never.
All right, well that's it. We're out of here.